let's turn from there to New York, where I'm joined by Professor Salvatore Babones. Remember, he is a big votary of the Modi government, academic based in Australia. When you see this, appreciate your joining us, Professor Babones. When you see this massive Yoga Day celebration taking place in New York, where you are at the moment, is this Indian soft power at work, or Prime Minister Modi being seen as the great event manager, as some call it, or a great magnet at work?
This is really all about India, not about Mr. Modi. Until recently, most Americans had never heard of Narendra Modi. Now, his name recognition has broken through 50% this year, and that's a sign, I think, of his growing prominence in world affairs. But really, the American celebration of India is a celebration of India. Americans see yoga as coming from India, and if there's a pleasant-looking, white-bearded man leading the celebration, they probably are more likely to think that he's a yogi than a prime minister. This is really about India. This is not personal. It is national.
But do you see the Prime Minister becoming a catalyst in a way of building this soft power that India has, that you spoke about when he leads the yoga celebrations, for example, in New York? Does he become a catalyst?
Mr. Modi, of course, is the catalyst. He's the one here doing the talking. But honestly, I think if any Indian prime minister were in the U.S. today, he or she would be getting the same reception. This is about India's moment on the world stage. Americans, and particularly American businesses, are very excited to be working with India right now. Now, a lot of the narrative was focused on defense cooperation and the potential transfer of defense technology, but that's not what the narrative here is about. The narrative here is about India's moment in the world, about economic growth, about India's century. This is not something personal about Mr. Modi. This is something about India, the country.
But do you believe that many Americans now see India much more favorably than China or even certainly a Pakistan? But do you believe, therefore, that India is seen as a country, as you say, whose time may have come?
Americans certainly see India in a more favorable light than China. I don't think the India-Pakistan rivalry is well known in the United States. Of course, among experts, everyone's aware of the long-standing relations between India and Pakistan. But among ordinary Americans, this is really just about India. It's not about China. It's not about Pakistan. It is about India's rise, and primarily about the Indian economy. People sense there are massive opportunities in India. Everyone, or not everyone, but certainly millions of people in the United States have funds under management. They're looking to have their funds invested in India because they see India as the growth story of the 21st century.
But do you see, therefore, the Indian diaspora also playing a major role in this transformative relationship?
The Indian diaspora is absolutely crucial because most Americans are not getting their understanding of India from television or newspapers. They're getting it from their work colleagues. Indian Americans are by far the highest earning group in the United States. They're more than 50% richer than Chinese Americans, just to give an obvious comparison. They are the #1 achieving minority group in the United States. And as a result, they're in executive positions. Of course, yes, we know Google, Microsoft, IBM are led by Indian Americans, but they're also Indian executives, Indian professionals at all levels, especially in the tech world, especially in the finance world, but also throughout corporate America. And those Indian executives are the ones who are teaching their colleagues, teaching their coworkers about India. Now, it's not always a pro-Modi narrative. Of course, just like India, the Indian diaspora is divided on its political loyalties. And that's as it should be, right? They reflect Indian society. But whether they're pro-Modi or anti-Modi, pro-BJP or pro-Congress, they're all pro-India, and they're overwhelmingly generating a narrative that India, that this is the time for Americans to be interested in India.
One final question, a trick question in a way, Professor Babones. If you were to ask Americans 3 things that they know about India, what would those first 3 things come in their mind if you ask them, what do you know about India?
Well, it might be curry. It's certainly not cricket. But I think opportunity would sum it up in one word. There's just a general sense that this is India's time on the global stage. And I think they're aware that India today is the land of opportunity. And if there's one thing Americans can sense, it's an opportunity to make a dollar.
That's a nice way to put it. If there's one thing that Americans can sense, it's opportunity, and they sense opportunity in India. Appreciate your joining us, Professor Babones.